Okay, hi guys. Welcome to the first homework video of the year. So just a couple quick reminders. So this homework is due on Friday, August 16th for A days, Monday, August 19th for B days. If you can't read that code right there, that's the Google Classroom code, which you should have been able to read if you are watching this video, but it's T54YRB. The Instagram is right there below at the Keys to Algebra. And if you want to join the Remind, that's at Keys Algebra 1 to 81010. So as I explained to you in class, we're going to do the left-hand side together and also a little bit at the bottom because I know it's a little weird. We're going to do the left-hand side together. It's your job to answer these right-hand side questions, and that will be for a complete homework grade. So question 1, it says determine if the following relation is a function or non-function. So the first thing I do, I notice that this is a graph. And I know that for a graph, I don't want any numbers on top of each other. That means I use what we call the vertical line test. So that's the vertical line test. So I'm going to take my pen and I am going to move it from side to side and see if it touches in more than one spot. Now, unfortunately, my pen's kind of fat. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to draw lines up and down and see if it crosses in more than one spot. I see it crosses one time there, one time there. If I draw this one, it crosses one time there. So this is a function because I don't see any places where my graph is going to touch those vertical lines or those straight up and down lines more than one time. So that was nice. Let's look at this one. So it says determine if the following relation is a function or non-function. And now remember, this is called a mapping. So I think back to, this helps me the most, I think back to our people and places example. So I'm going to label this one over here as people. I know that it's also X, this one's Y, and I also can think of it as places. A person cannot be in more than two places at once, or my X cannot go to more than one Y. So that means that this means it's not a function because this is going in two places. So I know that this is not a function. So I'm going to box that off because I see that it's not a function because a person is going to be in two different places. Lastly, I'm going to look at my set notation that I have over here. Again, this is called set notation. So if I'm thinking about my set notation, I remember that I need to look at my x values. And remember, the rule for a function is general, that in the rule for a function in general is that one x can go with only one y, which means no x's can repeat. No x's can repeat. All right, so I'm going to underline here. So I have a -3, a -1, a 0, -3, and 2, 4. Remember, my points always go x, y. So I'm only looking at that first value. I see that my -3 repeats. I'm going to quick double check to make sure that the -4 over there and the 5 over here are different. So they are different y values. My x values do repeat. So I know that this is not a function. Not a function. Awesome. Okay, so I'm not going to do any of these on the right side. You should be able to take care of them. But if you have any questions, let me know. You can always send me a message on email. And my email is mkeys@uplifteducation.org. Or if you wanted to send it through the class Instagram, I'll try and answer your question as fast as I can. Lastly, I wanted to talk about this box down here at the bottom because it's not something that we talked about. So it says, what do you think is the easiest way to tell if something is a function or not? Is it a table, a map, a set notation, or a graph? For me, the easiest way to tell is a map, but that might not be true for you. So the directions say, turn the following list of coordinate points / the set into a table, map, and a graph. And then it gives me a list of points. So me right off the bat, I'm going to look here and see if this is a function or not. And I'm going to look, ooh, I see that 2, 3 is repeated. So I know that this is going to be not a function. But let's pretend that it's May. It's been a long time since I've thought about this. And I might not remember how to tell if a set notation is function or not. So what I could do is turn this into any of the other three. So I remember that my points are always listed as x comma y. So if I'm looking over here, I know that this oval on the left is always going to be an x. This one on the right is always going to be a y because it's my inputs that go into the output. And I'm going to take my x values and put them in the x column, and I'm going to take my y values and put them in the y. So x goes to x, y goes to y. So I'm going to take this x value, that's a 2, and that goes with my 5. Now I have an x value of 3. Remember, it's x comma y. My x value of 3 goes with my y value of 5. So I'm going to draw an arrow right there. My x value of 5 goes with my y value of 7. So I'm going to draw that line right there. My x value of 4 right here goes with my y value of 4. I'm going to draw that one in too. And last but not least, I see that this x value of 3, which I already have, and has a y value of 6. So I'm going to draw that 6 all the way down here and connect to this line. So now you see this 3 is going to 2 different places, which we know means that it's not a function. So since my 3 goes 2 places, ooh, I spelled that wrong, 2 places, it is not a function. Awesome. So, okay, same thing. I could go from a map to a table. I think it's easier to start from the point, so I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to list out my x values. So I have a 2, I have a 3, I have a 5, I have a 4, and I have a 3 again. I don't need that last column. And I know that my 2 goes with the 5, my 3 goes with the 5, my 5 goes with the 7, my 4 goes with the 4, and my 3 goes with a 6. So if I'm looking here, remember, I'm always looking to see, do my x values repeat? And I see I have a 2 right there. There's no other 2. But if I'm looking again, I see I have a 3 right here and a 3 right here. So these 2 do repeat. So my 3's repeat. I can again tell it's not a function. Awesome. Okay, so this last one's a little bit tricky only because this graph didn't print super well. So we're going to work through it together. So I know this line right here is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's a light line right here. This will be my 5, and this will be my 6. So make sure that no matter how you scale your axis, that we can see what lines we're talking about. Okay, so I'm going to break this up into points. So this point right here is going to be my first one. So I'm going to count over 1, 2, and then up. Let me label my y-axis really quick. It's going to go, it's a little hard to see again. So just wherever you put it, make sure it's consistent. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So I'm going to go to 2 and then up 5. So that's my first point right there. My second point is going to be 3, 5. So I'm going to go over to 3 and up to 5 right there. My next point is going to be 5, 7. So I'm going to go 5 and then count up 6, 7, somewhere around there. We don't have to be exact. I have 4, 4 next. So it's going to be 4 and 4. And last but not least, I have this 3, 6. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3 and up to 6. Remember, the rule I'm thinking about is if I drew a line up and down, would any of them go through 2 lines? And it looks to me like this line right here is going to go through those 2 points because their x values are both 3. So it fails the vertical line test, and I have 2 dots on top of each other. So I still know that this is not a function. So at the bottom, is this relation a function? We've said many times the answer is no. So I thought that this was really important because sometimes we might forget how to do it in one form or the other, but it's important to remember that I can go back and forth between the forms, and that's a good way to help me remember if I get stuck. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, thank you for watching this video.